Hi everybody! Welcome to the third episode in the How to Sight Sing series. So in the first episode we talked about how sight singing is based off of a scale Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. And in the second part of the series we talked about how in order to sight sing a piece of music you need to know what note is Do or what key it's in. And that's sort of the first step in the sight singing process, finding the key. So in this video I'm going to take that first step in the process and expand on it a little bit, take you through some of the next steps in the sight singing process while working through a couple of sight singing exercises. So let's get started. So to start off the exercise, I covered up the actual notes that make up the exercise so we could determine the key signature and focus on that step first. When looking at a piece of music, the first thing you want to figure out is what key is this song in, or what note is Do. And if you remember from the last video, I taught you a few handy mnemonic devices to figure out key signatures depending upon if the key signature has sharps in it or has flats in it. So this key signature has a flat, and the mnemonic device we learned for flats was Freddie, bought, Eddie, A, dented, gift. So you count the number of flats and figure out which word or which key that corresponds to. So we have one flat here, so one flat, Freddie. So this is in the key of F major. I'm going to write that at the top. So if we're in the key of F major, that means F is Do. So we have Do, and this is also Do, because we have the F space, and then we have the F line right here. So then we ask ourselves, once we know what Do is, if F is Do, what are all the other syllables in the scale? So what syllables do we assign to each note? So if we have the scale Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, and we know that Re is one above Do in the scale, and we know that the note above Do is going to be Re, so the note above F is G. So G is Re. The note above that, A, is going to be Mi. The note above that, B flat, is going to be Fa. The note above that, C, is going to be Sol. The note above that, D, is going to be La. Note above that, E, is going to be T. And then that brings us back to Do at F. So now that we've done our little labeling, we're going to look at the exercise and compare the syllables on the scale to the notes in our exercise. The first thing we want to ask ourselves when we look at the exercise itself, after we've looked at the key signature, is what is the starting note? So we know that our starting note is an F, and F is Do. So we're starting the exercise on Do. So I'm going to write Do. And what's the ending note? The ending note is also F, which means it's also Do. I'm going to write Do underneath that one. So now we have an idea of where we're coming from and where we're going. We know that we're starting and ending on Do. Now, looking in between our starting note and our ending note, what patterns do we see? Are there any peaks or valleys that we should take note of? What direction are we going to be moving in our exercise? So if I trace it with my finger, we're going to go up and down. So we hit a peak in the middle of the exercise, and then we go back down to Do. So we're going to go up in pitch and then down. And that seems really elementary again, but it's so important just to go through those motions one at a time to really get a hold of what sight singing entails. So now that we know the direction that we're going to be going, what are those individual notes that we're going to be hitting in between the two Do's? So we know that after this first Do, we go up to a G. G is Re, so we're going to be singing Do, Re. And then after this G, we go up to an A. And we see here that A is Mi. So we're going to be singing mi. Then we go back down to G, which is re. And then we go back down to F as do. So now we kind of know where we're going. We have our roadmap here. We're going to start on do and end on do. We're going to peak at mi in the middle and come back down to do. Do, re, mi, re, do. So now that we have that roadmap, we know where we're going, we can sight sing. So I'm just going to open up the piano here. So, and I'm just going to play the starting note of the piece, which is do, which is F. And we're going to sight sing. Do, re, mi, re, do. We just sight sang! Woohoo! It's accomplishing a lot, being able to determine what key a song is in, labeling the notes, getting a roadmap, knowing where you're going in the piece, and then actually singing it. And it's great that these same skills, which can be applied to something so basic, can be applied to something like Mozart or Handel or whoever you're singing. So I'm going to do one more exercise just like this so we can really get these steps in our brains. Alrighty, time for our second exercise. So, going through the steps again, what is the key signature? What note is do? So, this time we have a key involving sharps, and in the last video, the mnemonic device we used for sharps was give, Dave, and Ethel bad, fat cats. So there are 3 sharps here, so give, Dave, and. We're in the key of A major. A major. So if we're in the key of A major, then A is do. So we have do here and do up here. Now, if we know that A is do, then one above it is re, one above A is B. So B is going to be re. Then one above that, C sharp, is going to be mi. Then one above that, D is going to be fa. One above that, E is going to be sol. One above that, F sharp, is going to be, that's going to be la. Then one above that, G sharp, is going to be T. That's super messy, but you get the idea. And then A up here is going to be do. So we can also extend this below do. We can go the other way. So one below do is T. We know G sharp is T. So G sharp down here is also going to be T. It's just one octave lower. And then E is going to be la. F sharp is going to be la. And we know it's F sharp, not F, because the F line is sharped up here. And then E is going to be sol. And so on and so forth. So now that we've done our labeling and we've determined what notes are what syllables in the key of A, we're going to take a look at our exercise, which is going to again be pretty short and sweet, but just as important to do. So, first question we ask ourselves upon seeing this exercise: what note do we start on? So we're starting on an A here, and since we're in the key of A major, we know we're starting on do. And what's our ending note? Oh, it's an A, it's also do. So we're starting and ending on do again. Now, what patterns are there in this exercise? Are there any peaks and valleys? Are we going to go down in pitch or up in pitch? So if we trace it with our finger, we know we're going to go down in pitch, hit a valley here, and then go up in pitch. So let's map out where we're going to go. So we start on Do, and then we go one note below that to G. If we look here, G is T. So we know we're going to go down to T. Then if we look here, we're going to go one more down. We're going to go to F sharp, which is La. So we know we're going to go down to La. Then we're going to go up in pitch back to G sharp, which we know is T. And then we go back to Do. So this exercise, we're going to go down from Do to La, and then back up to Do. Do, Ti, La, Ti, Do. So now that we have our roadmap, we know where we're going, we're going to sight sing. So I'm going to play an A, play our starting note. Play it again. Here we go. Do, Ti, La, Ti, Do. We just sight sang again! Woohoo! So now that we've gone through this process twice, you can see that there is a lot involved initially, labeling and making our roadmap, tracing the pattern. It's a lot to take in, it definitely is. So take this moment to celebrate this little mini accomplishment. Even if you have been experienced in sight reading another method and this is your first time using the method of movable Do to sight sing, it's a really big accomplishment to have done this much. So when you look at this and see all that's going into it, down the road a piece, once you become more experienced in sight reading with movable Do, you won't have to do all of this, all that's in our bluish green here, because you'll know it. You'll know how to find a key signature, you'll know what note is what syllable, you'll be able to do less and less of this road mapping, and it'll just kind of come second nature. And for some people it takes a long time for that click to happen, but for some people it happens right away. And in the next couple of videos that I'm going to post a bunch of different exercises that we can do together, and it'll give you an opportunity to practice these skills. So as always, I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope you have a good day.